Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to be on with you all today and talk about the topic of the what, why, and how of developing a theory of change. So if you have not done so, please take a moment and invite some friends over to the group so that they don't miss out on this discussion tonight. And then go ahead, if they're in the group already, just tag them in. We're going to get started in a few minutes, but we're going to give it some time for others to join us. In the meanwhile, if you are watching, please drop a hey, howdy doody in the comments. And we just want to know that you're here, and let us know if you're using or have used the theory of change model within your organization. Okay. Hey, Vic. Hey, Greg, what's up? Thank you all for joining us tonight. All right, thank you all. All right, Vic, I see you say that my organization is brand new. That is awesome. So you're at the right place at the right time. So we're going to talk to you about developing on theory of change. So thank you all once again for joining us. And before we get started tonight, I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. I just want to say thank you to Roots Art Store for sponsoring this month's lives. If you're looking for your personalized jewelry to show your loved ones appreciation this month, be sure to check them out. Their pieces would make a perfect Valentine's gift. So please, you all check out Roots Art Store. They have supported our lives this month, and we appreciate you Roots Art Stores for doing that. And once again, please tag any friends in so that they can join in on this conversation. If you're catching the replay, give us a hashtag replay so that we know that you watched it. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into the topic of the what, why, and how of developing a theory of change model. We have our amazing Mr. Joe Toliver with us tonight, and we're just going to discuss the theory of change.
How you doing, Lasheena?
I am good.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready to dive into this topic?
I'm ready. How's everybody doing? Hey, thanks for having me here again tonight. You know, I'm excited about talking about the theory of change. I've had a lot of experience with the topic and actually doing them myself, for myself and for others. So I'm interested in sharing the information about what I got from it.
Awesome. So let's dive in because as you all know, this month's theme is program development and theory of change. So that's why we wanted to introduce this conversation and talk about the theory of change model. So Joe, if you don't mind just talking a little bit about what is theory of change, what is it? You know, what does it mean to an organization?
Well, the theory of change is really about how you plan to do good. It's about being intentional with your programming, how to make impact, how do you individually make impact, but how do your organization makes impact with the individuals that you serve. Mm-hmm. And what the theory of change talks about is how you're going to change someone's behavior, whether it's their behavior, whether it's their perception, or whether it's their knowledge. But the whole thought of the theory of change is to really look at how you're going to be able to motivate people to this change. And the theory of change is really just an intentional plan to get you to that space.
Awesome. So at what point would you say an organization should develop a theory of change? And then if we could talk a little bit about the why behind the theory of change.
Listen, if you're doing programming, you should have a theory of change in the very beginning of your programming. It's one of the most important components. I know a lot of times we operate in terms of we'll have evidence-based programming that we're providing for our young people. Well, that's not theory of change. Yes, it is a mechanism to use within the theory of change model, but it's not the sole component in helping you reach your goal of making that impact on that person or that community.
So you're telling me before you even develop or decide on a curriculum, any of that, you should start with the theory of change model for program planning.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, it also can be the crux of your whole organization, because if you're able to then take that same document and use that for your grant writing purposes. Because now if you've kind of, I'm going to take a step back and I'll explain better how it'll impact, but you'll be able to use it for your marketing. You'll be able to use it for your grant writing purposes. You'll be able to use it for writing proposals for foundations, because your program and everything you do, how you deliver it, why you deliver it, is right on that document. And it's not like a book where it's 16 pages like a business plan. It's not like that. It's a matrix. It's usually a 1 or 2 page that really takes you through the process, which we're going to talk about later on in the conversation. It takes you through the process. With this, I mean, it really helps you establish what your budget is going to be. You know, my whole thing is you got to know how much money you need to be able to have a goal, right? So your theory of change helps you realize that goal in so many different ways. And we're going to talk about that tonight.
That's awesome. Because I know oftentimes, especially for newer organizations, like where to start, especially in program planning, it's like where to start. You know, you might kind of put an event on here and do this, but it sounds like using a theory of change model helps you become very intentional about the programs and events and activities that you put in place.
Absolutely. And it helps you monitor your opportunities for evaluation. Because then, you know, the theory of change really talks about what it hopes to look like at the end. So you're thinking about the end. In the beginning, you're really kind of thinking about the end, how you want to make that impact. And that's really kind of how you think about the ways that you want to impact an individual or your community. The one thing I will say about a theory of change, a lot of times folks will lose their passion for the work that they want to do and get caught up in the whole structure of the theory of change. But I say that you can hold on to your ideals that you originally got you going into the nonprofit arena to help others, to create impact in the lives of others, and still be able to kind of maintain the structured way to do it in a flexible way. And that's one thing about a theory of change, it's flexible, because at the end of the process, it looks at whether or not you reached your goal, and then ask you to take a look at it and evaluate it and say, okay, that didn't work so well. Now let me try something different. And usually your experience will impact that. So the theory of change is almost like a living document that is flexible and it doesn't dismiss your ideals and your passion. It only helps you get to it.
Love it. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about some of the concepts in developing a theory of change. And I know, like, we've been able to work together on the theory of change, and I just love the process and doing it. And one thing that I love about it too, it gets you out of your head and onto paper.
Yeah.
And then it gets others also get us all on the same page, because we're kind of, you know, you see it on paper, it's not just stuck up here, which oftentimes as a founder, we keep our ideas and our programs up here, and then having this plan, you know, kind of helps us. So let's talk a little bit about some of the concepts, you know, with the theory of change model.
So, you know, there are many different applications for the theory of change model, right? But the one that I like to stick to the closest, which is the basic tenets of it, is one that looks at a couple of core different areas: the problem, the target groups, the strategy, the action, and the outcome. And we'll talk a little bit about the problem first. Usually when someone comes into a nonprofit, I always say a nonprofit is usually an organization that has been operating 3 years or less. And usually when they come in, they come with all these ideas and passions about how they want to make a commitment and they want to make a change in the community that they live in or the individuals within that community. And a lot of times what happens is they have the passion within them, but they haven't really defined what the problem is. And what the logic model does, it forces you to look at what is the problem that you are trying to solve. And you may be trying to solve a number of problems, but it helps you dig deep, it helps you reflect, and it also helps you take a look closer at what are possible root causes to those problems. And then you'll be able to come up with what the next part of it is, which is the strategies in order to combat what that problem is. So if you've identified what the problem is, what the theory of change does, it actually gives you a chance to distinguish between not only now that you know what the problem is, but now you say, okay, I have this problem. Who is this problem typically a challenge for? What target groups? And then you begin to look at what target groups that this problem affect the most that you believe you would have the opportunity to work at in a couple of different ways. You look at it in terms of the target groups are the people that you would want to serve, and also the people that could help you in your efforts to realize your strategies and your actions. So it's almost a two-pronged thing. You're looking for sort of like your assets and liabilities, but you're really looking at you're really looking at what, who can help you along the way. So that's a target group. Your participants who will you be providing the service for, that's a target group. So as you build and you have these profound discussions about, what the problem is, and then you begin to identify what the target groups are, you can now say, okay, what have I been doing? And what do I need to do? What strategies do I need to employ to combat this problem for this target group? Right?
Right.
So now we're starting to ask ourselves the question, what strategies, what solutions would create the desired impact that I'm looking to happen within this individual or this community? And so that really begins to take on a good place. And I'm going to put a pin in that and ask people if I'm moving too fast, if you're getting what I'm saying, or if you have questions about problems, identifying the problem, the target groups, or either the strategy. But I want to put a pin in it because I think it's important also to kind of talk about when you're developing your theory of change, it's important to have people at the table with you. This is not something you should do isolated. This should be, people sitting at the table should be folks who either have a connection to you personally or a connection to the challenge that you're trying to address, or they have worked in the area before and can bring some expertise to the conversation. Because a part of the theory of change requires you to do some research, right? So, because I'm asking you to really identify, break down, get deep and go to the root cause in terms of what the problem is. And then I'm going to ask you to research in terms of who are your target groups. So it really does take a commitment from not just an isolated person, but a group of committed people who have the will and capacity around the mission that you're trying and the impact that you're trying to create. So I did want to put a pin in that and see if there was any questions so far that kind of talk to you. And I'll just also say, if you're new, and these same people are, some of them may be folks that you can now select to become your board members, if you haven't already done that. And if you already have board members, they may be someone you want to add on, because now they know a significant part of what you're trying to accomplish, and they were there in the planning part of it. And they could really not only articulate that to other potential board members, but to the community, but also potential funders that are within their sphere of influence. But that's a whole nother subject. It'll take us all night to go through that. That's fun development. But all these pieces of the puzzle, even the theory of change, reflects back to your overall organizational, your operational needs for your organization. It definitely has a big role to play in just about every facet of a nonprofit's operational strategy. And so when you talk about those strategies, I didn't know if Lasheena, did anybody have any questions?
We don't have no questions. Greg said I am new. And I'm at this point right now. So this is actually the perfect time, with you being new to do a theory of change to help develop your programs.
Yeah, the theory of change really is the crux of, if you can get this, it will take you a long way, Greg. It will take you a long way. So one of the things that, after you've discovered your strategies, one of the techniques I like to use with the strategies, and I don't know if you heard of this, but you can always look it up, and maybe one day in the future, we'll do a full live on it. But using the SMART goals in terms of developing your strategies, kind of think about your strategies using specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Defining these parameters as they pertain to your goal helps ensure that your objectives are attainable within a certain time frame. So if you're
sorry to cut you off. We did do a live on SMART goals. So make sure you go back to the guides, check that out. At the beginning of the year, we went one by one through each of the SMART areas. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So that's in your guide section. Sorry, just want to make sure people know.
No, that's perfect.
Go check it out. It's there.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So once you kind of got your strategies together and you kind of rounded them out, because really what your strategies will do is really kind of set the parameters around what you want to do for that specific problem. You've already identified your target audience. Now you can start identifying what are actual action steps that you can take based on your strategies. Now it's more specific, it's direct. If your strategy is, I want to increase the number of minorities working in the trucking and transportation industry, I'll do it this way. I'll take a step back. I'll start from the problem. The problem is there's not enough women in the trucking industry, but there's 800,000 available jobs in the trucking industry. So that's the problem. What's the strategy? Increase opportunities for women to have childcare and free training opportunities for women and minority drivers, right? That's the strategies. Who's the target audience? The target audience would be women, women with children. The target audience would be trucking schools. Target audience would be funding sources, okay? So now we've made it up to, we've identified the problem, we've got the target group, we've identified what the strategy is possible. So what are some identified action steps we could take? Well, one step we could take is that we could broker a deal with a trucking school to give a 50% discount for women coming into their program, and we could provide them through federal grants, tax incentives. That's one action. Boom, knock it off. Action number two, we'll work with a daycare centers, national daycare centers, to provide incentives for mothers to drop their children off at unpredictable hours. Build a network of nurseries that are available 24 hours and on weekends. Boom, knock it off the list. So those are specific actions. What are outcomes, right? So that's the last part. Outcomes, it gives you an opportunity to evaluate the effectiveness of the work that you're doing. And so once you do the work, you begin to evaluate it and look at it. Did it work? Is it working? So what is a possible outcome for this scenario? 50% of the women that were involved in our program successfully went through, will successfully complete a driver training program and receive their CDLA license. That's your outcome. Now go back to your problem. What was the original problem? Not enough women in trucking. We came up with a strategy. We identified who our target audiences were. We tapped into our target audiences with some of our strategies, right? Came up with action steps. And we talked about what our outcomes could possibly be. That's all a theory of change is. All it is reflecting on what your desired outcome from the work that you're going to do. And what's so beautiful about it, now you can pick out your action plan and start developing your budget. That's the beauty in it too. Am I right, Lasheena?
That is true. Yep.
You can start really digging into your budget now, because now you kind of know exactly what you're going to do. Now you can start framing, well, how much is that going to cost me to do that? So now you know how much money you need. Then now you got to take Lasheena's fund development class. Right?
So what would you say? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, so that's a real basic 20, 30-minute tutorial on the theory of change. It's so much more, but it's not as difficult as people may think it is. But the power that it creates in your organization is phenomenal.
Yep. And what I love too, so if you're watching and you're like, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do. Well, first and foremost, of course, the Nonprofit Enthusiast team can help you. But secondly, you can literally pause this video and answer those questions. What is the problem in my program? What is the strategy? What is the target audience? But of course, you don't have to do it alone. We're here to help you. So what I wanted to ask you was, I know oftentimes when it comes to programming, I hear people often talk about logic models, but I don't hear them oftentimes talk about theory of change. So what would you say the difference or in the two tools are, or is there one tool that's better than the other when it comes to program planning?
No, they really are much in the same.
Okay.
They're much in the same. There's not a real distinction in it. Like I say, there are different ways you can frame this. So some people call it a logic model, some people call it a theory of change. But really, that's what it is. It's, if you think about the name, theory of change, all you're trying to do is make change. And all you're doing it is in a logical way. That's all it is. So it's really not a big distinction between the two. And if you go, they've been doing logic models. They started doing logic models in the United States government in the late 60s. And they still use logic models today. So it's not something that's a phenomenon. It's something that's been used and people use it all the time. And you see different variations of it. You'll see some pages that could be, the 11 by 17 or the 14 by 17, that whole page is full. And then you see some that are short and small. It's just depending on the work that you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, what impact are you trying to create? I can't imagine a program going without having this, because it directs the operation of your whole, everything that you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. So what tips would you give, as we get ready to kind of wrap up tonight's conversation? What's some tips that you would like to leave with those that's tuned in and listening?
Okay, tonight? I'm gonna talk to the new, since that was the
okay.
So new. Here's what I have to say to you, New. Get you a group of 4 or 5 people and come together to work on developing a logic model for your program. Go on Nonprofit Enthusiast website and book you some time so Lasheena and I can coach you and those 4 or 5 people through the process. Once you complete your logic model, we'll work on your budget for your organization. Once you have your budget for your organization, we can help you develop the marketing plan so you can market yourself, which will ultimately help you with your fund development plan. With all of that, you will have a full, robust nonprofit organization with an operational plan that will help you get over the bumps more smoothly than you would if you tried to go it alone. Especially given the fact that, not in a braggadocious way, but between Lasheena and I, we probably got about 60 years of experience in this. And we believe, and we've proven that we can help news get to a stage where they can thrive, not just survive, thrive. We don't want you to get caught up in starvation. We help you, lead you to the right type of funding that you need to get your program going, to help build the capacity for your organization. So Mr. Nunu, that's my few suggestions for you. And for everybody else, if you already doing programming, take a step back, maybe at your next retreat, your next board retreat, do your logic model for your program. Lasheena is perfect at facilitating board retreats. She can help in that area. There's no reason why you guys can't get to a level that some of these $6 million, $10 million nonprofit organization budgets with $6 and $10 million, but this is all they're doing right here. This is what they're doing. And the only reason I'm saying that to you, because I used to work at a few of them. And this is what they're doing. They're coming up with their logic model. They're operating within intention. They're planning to do good.
Awesome. So that sounds like you covered the hints and the homework at the same time.
Okay.
So you all got your homework. And of course, you know, we're here to help you all. And I dropped that link in there. Check out our Do With program, which is our one-on-one coaching that we provide so that you don't have to do it alone. We would love to join you on your nonprofit journey. So anything else before I do our updates and final wrap up for tonight? You good?
No questions?
Nope. I don't see anything. Maria, thank you for joining us. I know you said you'll catch us on the replay. Greg, I see your ears. You listening. You taking it all in. I see it. All right. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go into our quick updates. So one of the updates is our fund development webinar is coming up on February 22nd. You do not want to miss that webinar. It is an absolutely free webinar to you. We'll be walking you through the fund development process. Our wonderful Mr. Toliver, I should say, will be walking you through the fund development process, strategies for attracting supporters and donors, ingredients needed to build relationships that will transform into support and dollar bills, y'all. So make sure if you have not joined one of our fund development webinars in the past, this is an opportunity to join us. So please register for that if you have not. Also, you know, we like to set goals on our lives. So we're at 347 members in the group. Yay! So if you so the first person to invite, let's go ahead and make it a good 350, but the first person to invite 10 members into the group, we're going to go ahead. I don't know if you all know this, but we got Nonprofit Enthusiast shirts on our website. So we'll go ahead and hook you up with a Nonprofit Enthusiast shirt of your choice. So, you know, please invite 10 members to the group. The first person that does that will send you the information so that you could go onto the website and order your shirt at no cost to you. So we're looking forward to that. Other than that, that's the updates that we have. We do have some amazing things coming over the next few weeks and months that we can't wait to announce to you all. So thank you all for your continuous support. If you need anything, you know we are here to support you and join you on your journey. Other than that, I'd like to close out with saying a thank you to our sponsor once again. We appreciate our sponsors for believing in us as nonprofit organizations. So thank you, Roots Art Store. Be sure to check them out if you need any jewelry pieces, personalized jewelry pieces. Check out Roots Art Store. Other than that, you all know where to find us. We'll see you on the next Nonprofit Enthusiast Live, and have a wonderful night, everyone.
Good night.
All right, good night.